The year a stranger tried to bully my grandson into giving her child a free gaming setup, another mother told a teenage girl at the movies she didn't even deserve to exist. You sit with stories like that for a long time when you're my age. You turn them over like old photographs, wondering where things went wrong for those parents, and what their children learned from watching. My name is Margaret, but around here you can just call me Grandma. I've raised children, spoiled grandchildren, buried a husband, and outlived more neighbors than I care to count. I've seen good people do foolish things, and foolish people get chances they never deserved. So tonight, pour yourself a cup of something warm and sit with me. I want to tell you 2 true stories from the same year, one about a boy working his first real job in a tech shop, and another about a girl just trying to watch a movie in peace. Both of them ran into mothers who thought the world owed their children something special. Have you ever watched an adult throw a tantrum louder than the child standing next to them? Let me start with my grandson, Daniel. Daniel was 14 that spring, all elbows and enthusiasm, the kind of child who could tell you the difference between 3 types of computer memory but still forgot his lunch on the kitchen counter. His school had a little work experience program, 1 week where the kids got to shadow a real job, wear a name tag, feel grown. He landed a spot at a local electronics shop, the kind run by a man who'd been fixing radios since before color TV. Daniel was over the moon. He ironed his shirt the night before and asked his grandfather which tie looked most professional, even though no one at that store had worn a tie in years. On the 4th day of his week, a Thursday, the sky outside had that gray, sleepy look, the kind that makes you want to stay in and bake cookies instead of going to work. Inside the store, the hum of the air conditioner and the soft buzz of fluorescent lights made everything feel a little unreal. Daniel was behind the front counter, carefully arranging a new shipment of smartphones in the display case. The manager, Mr. Harris, was in the back checking inventory. It was slow, just one older man comparing printer cables in aisle 3. The bell above the door chimed. In walked a woman in her 40s, heels clicking, perfume arriving 3 seconds before she did, and beside her, a boy of maybe 12 with a hoodie covered in cartoon skulls and neon lightning bolts. The boy had that restless energy you see in kids who spend more time in front of a screen than they do outside. Daniel straightened up, smoothed his name tag, and gave his friendliest smile. Good afternoon, welcome in. How can I help you today? The boy didn't answer. His eyes had already landed on the glowing wall of gaming products, keyboards lit up like rainbows, mice with more buttons than a TV remote, headsets that promised to make explosions feel real. We're looking for a keyboard, the mother said, in that tone some people use where they aren't really asking for help, they're announcing their presence. She headed straight for the gaming display, the boy trailing behind her like a small, jittery comet. Daniel, bless him, followed politely. Now, Daniel loves this stuff. So when a customer asks about keyboards, to him that's like asking a baker about bread. He lit up. There were 2 models left on the shelf, both expensive, both with more lights than a Christmas tree. One was a true mechanical board, the kind professional players dream about. The other looked similar, but it was cheaper inside, different switches, slower response, a little mushier under the fingers. The mom frowned at the price tags, her eyebrows climbing. Why is this one more? She asked. Daniel explained, patient as a Sunday school teacher. This one has mechanical switches. It picks up your key presses faster, and it lasts longer. That's why it costs more than the other one. The boy crossed his arms. Mom, I told you. Real gamers only use the mechanical kind. Have you ever heard a child say, real, like that, as if anyone who doesn't fit their tiny definition simply doesn't count? The mother sighed dramatically. He plays competitively, she told Daniel, like she was explaining a medical condition. He can't use cheap equipment. He's gifted. Daniel nodded politely. That's exciting, he said. What game do you play? The boy puffed out his chest. Shooter games, he said. Online tournaments. Our team is called Night Strike Legends. Now, Daniel might be only 14, but he's not foolish. He spends more time on the internet than I'd like, and he knows the big tournament names. Night Strike Legends was not one of them. Still, he just smiled. Got it. Well, this one's what a lot of serious players like. It's $139. The mother's head snapped around so fast Daniel swore he heard her earrings click. $139, she repeated slowly, as if he'd suggested she sell her car. That's the listed price, ma'am, Daniel said. He told me later his palms had started to sweat, but he stayed steady, the way we'd practiced. She put a hand on her hip. You don't understand, she said. My son is going to be a professional. He already plays in a real team. Brands should be begging to sponsor him. You should be honored we're buying from you. Isn't it something, the way some parents wear their children's hobbies like Olympic medals? She jabbed a manicured finger toward the keyboard. So we'll take this one, and you can mark it down. He should get it free, or at least half off. This is an investment in his career. Daniel blinked. I'm not allowed to give discounts, he said. I'm just doing a school week here. The price is what it scans at. The boy rolled his eyes. Just tell your boss I'm a streamer, he said. He'll know. Daniel swallowed a nervous laugh because something about a skinny 12-year-old with jelly on his hoodie calling himself a celebrity tickled him just a bit more than it should have. Still, he tried to be kind. Even if you're really good, Daniel said softly, we can't give stuff away unless the company makes a deal with you. We'd need paperwork. Contracts. That kind of thing. The mother stiffened. Are you calling my son a liar? Her voice had changed, gone from smug to sharp, like a knife scraping a plate. Daniel could feel the older man in aisle 3 glancing over, then quickly pretending to study the cables like they were ancient scrolls. No, ma'am, Daniel said, heart pounding. I'm just telling you the policy. She stepped closer to the counter, the keyboard box clutched in her hands. Look at him, she said, as if Daniel hadn't already been looking. Do you have any idea how many hours he practices? Do you know how much money we've spent on his setup already? This is his future. You're just a student. You wouldn't understand. There it was, that little word, just, sharp as broken glass. Have you ever had your hard work dismissed with one careless, just? Daniel told me that was the moment his nervousness turned into something sturdier. Ma'am, he said carefully, I may be a student, but I still have to follow the rules here. I can't change the price. I'm sorry. Her eyes went hard. We'll do this, she announced. I'll pay full price for the keyboard, and you'll throw in that headset as a gift, because my son will tell all his followers to shop here. She pointed at a glossy headset hanging on a hook, another $100 item. Daniel stared at her, trying to gather his words. That isn't something I can do either, he said. Sometimes the company creates bundles, but I can't make one on my own. Her voice climbed, high and shrill. This is ridiculous. You're losing the chance to be part of his success story. Get me your manager. Daniel felt his throat tighten. The last thing he wanted was to bother Mr. Harris. But he also knew this was the kind of moment adults talked about in staff meetings. We'd rehearsed it at the dinner table. If someone insists on breaking the rules, I had told him, you go get the person whose name is on the door. So he nodded, pressed the little button that buzzed the back room, and said, I'll ask him to come up. Please wait here. As Daniel walked to the back, he glanced at the security camera in the corner, its red light glowing. Mr. Harris took recording seriously. He still joked about catching a thief trying to steal a microwave under his coat back in '98. Problem? Mr. Harris asked when Daniel stepped through the door. He was a grandfather himself, with the calm of a man who has lived through both dial-up internet and teenagers with smartphones. Daniel explained quickly, the free keyboard demand, the professional gamer talk, the attempt to bundle in a headset for nothing. Mr. Harris sighed. I'll handle it, he said. You stand beside me, just in case I need to ask you something. They walked back up together. The mother was still at the counter, foot tapping, fingers drumming on the box. The boy scrolled on his phone, loudly describing some match he'd almost won if the game hadn't lagged. Good afternoon, ma'am, Mr. Harris said. I'm the owner. I hear there's some confusion about pricing. She plastered on a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Yes, there is. Your boy here, she waved a dismissive hand at Daniel, refuses to support my son's career. My child is an online competitor, and we deserve sponsorship-level treatment. We'll pay for this keyboard, and you'll gift the headset, or we'll take our business elsewhere. And we do a lot of business, believe me. Have you ever noticed how people threatening to take their business elsewhere are always the ones causing trouble where they are? Mr. Harris listened without interrupting. When she finished, he gave a small, polite nod. I understand your position, he said. And I've reviewed the store's security footage from the last few minutes while you were talking. Her eyes widened. You what? There's a monitor in the back room, he explained. For customer and staff safety, we keep cameras in the main area. I wanted to make sure I had the whole story before coming out. Her mouth opened, then closed. The boy glanced up from his phone, suddenly uncertain. Mr. Harris's voice stayed gentle, but firm. My employee here explained our prices correctly, he said. We do not offer free hardware in exchange for potential publicity, especially when there is no formal partnership. We also do not allow customers to demand extra products beyond what they're paying for. The mother's face flushed red. Are you accusing us of trying to steal? I'm saying, Mr. Harris replied, that insisting on taking merchandise without paying for it is against store policy. So here are your choices. You can buy the keyboard at the listed price and leave it at that. Or you can decide not to purchase anything today. But there will be no free headset, and no special treatment. The boy tugged on his mother's sleeve. Mom, he muttered, I need that keyboard. That, I think, was the moment she realized she'd pushed it as far as she could. Her son's desire outweighed her pride, for the moment, at least. She snatched her wallet from her purse. Fine, she snapped. We'll remember this when he's famous and you're begging for his endorsement. She shoved her card forward. Daniel rang up the keyboard, his hands a little steadier now that Mr. Harris stood beside him like an oak tree. As the receipt printed, the mother grabbed the bag and marched toward the door. From the threshold, she twisted around and declared, loud enough for the whole shop to hear, You've lost a customer for life. We will never come back here. The bell chimed again, and she was gone, boy in tow, the door swinging behind them like a punctuation mark. Daniel let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Mr. Harris patted his shoulder. You did well, he said. You followed the rules, you stayed calm, and you came to get me when you needed backup. That's all I ever ask. Back at our dinner table that night, Daniel told us the whole story, talking with his hands, mimicking the mother's expression. We laughed a little, because sometimes you have to. But underneath the laughter, I saw something else in his eyes, a new understanding of adults who act like children when they don't get their way. Grandma, he said quietly after the jokes were over, I don't ever want to be that kind of parent. Entitled parents don't raise strong children, they raise fragile egos. Have you ever caught yourself in a mirror of someone else's bad behavior and decided, right then, to step away from it? Now, that was one kind of ugliness, a mother using her child's hobby as a weapon, trying to squeeze something free out of a boy just doing his best. The second story I want to share is harder. It's not about money. It's about who we say is allowed to belong. Her name is Lena. She's not my granddaughter by blood, but she might as well be. She grew up 3 streets over, spent more afternoons at my kitchen table than I could count, eating cookies and asking me questions her own mother was too busy or too frightened to answer. Lena is queer. She didn't have that word at 13, but she knew that when other girls giggled about boys, something in her heart tugged in a different direction. For a long time, she thought that made her broken. She lives in a small island country where, until a few years ago, loving someone of the same sex wasn't just frowned upon, it was illegal on paper. The law seldom reached into bedrooms, but it gave cruel people permission to be louder than they should have been. In the spring when she was 16, a movie came out, a sweet, simple story about a boy figuring out he liked boys. It was the first time Lena had ever seen a big studio film about someone like her, playing in the same theater where families went to see cartoons and action heroes. When the posters went up, her hands shook as she took a picture of one with her phone. "Do you think they'll really show it?" she asked me. "Or will they pull it once people complain?" "Even if it only plays one weekend," I told her, "you deserve to see it." That Saturday, she rallied 3 friends from school, all of them somewhere on the rainbow themselves. They decided they would be brave for one evening. Nothing dramatic, no flags draped like capes, just small symbols. Lena wore a black t-shirt with the words, "Heart Full," printed over a tiny stripe of rainbow she'd painted herself with fabric markers. One friend had a pin with a little rainbow tucked next to a cloud on her denim jacket. Another braided a thin rainbow ribbon into her hair. It was quiet defiance, the kind that whispers, "I exist." Have you ever gotten dressed not to impress, but simply to tell the world you're still here? They bought their tickets without trouble. The cashier even smiled, sliding the stubs toward them like it was any other night. For a moment, Lena let herself breathe. Maybe, just maybe, this would be simple. 2 of the girls went ahead into the auditorium to save seats. Lena and her friend Maya stayed in the concessions line to get popcorn and sodas. Lena also planned to splurge on chicken tenders, her favorite. The theater was busy, the air thick with butter and sugar and the faint dampness of too many people in one room. Lena stood in line, shifting her weight from one foot to the other, rehearsing her order in her head like it was a school presentation. Behind her, a little boy of about 6 fidgeted, tapping her backpack with his fingers. He had big curious eyes and a cowlick that defied gravity. Beside him, his mother scrolled on her phone, not really looking anywhere but her own screen. Lena felt a tug at the back of her bag. She glanced down. The boy's small fingers were tracing the rainbow pin she'd clipped there, right next to a tiny silver unicorn. She smiled, gently pushing his hand away. "Careful," she said softly. "You'll bend it." He giggled and reached again. Lena turned slightly, hoping he'd get bored. His mother didn't look up. After the 3rd try, Lena turned fully around. Her voice was still polite, but a little thinner now. "Excuse me, ma'am," she said. "Could you please ask your son not to pull on my bag? I don't want him to get hurt on the pin." The woman finally raised her eyes. She gave Lena a slow, assessing look, from Lena's short hair and bare face, down to the t-shirt with its tiny rainbow. Her mouth tightened. "He's fine," she said. "He can touch what he wants. It's just a bag." That word again. Just. Have you noticed how often cruelty dresses itself in the word just? Lena's stomach fluttered. She unclipped the pin, slid it into her bag, and turned back toward the counter, hoping that would be the end of it. The line moved. She ordered the popcorn and drinks, handed over her crumpled bills with slightly shaking fingers. The cashier smiled, called out the order, set the drinks within reach, then turned to fetch the chicken tenders from the warmer. Lena balanced 2 sodas in one hand and the tub of popcorn in the other, careful not to spill, when she felt a sudden hard shove at her hip. She stumbled forward, bumping the counter. A few kernels jumped over the rim and scattered. She turned. The little boy was gripping her belt loop, grinning like it was a game. "Hey," she said, more startled than angry. Please don't pull on me like that. The mother watched, arms crossed now. He can do what he wants, she repeated, louder. The boy tugged again, this time pinching the skin above her jeans in the process. It stung. Without thinking, Lena put her hand out, palm resting lightly on his forehead, a playground gesture meant not to hurt but to create a little distance. Stop, she said. He jerked back as if burned and immediately let out a wail, one of those siren cries children learn early will bring adult attention screaming to their side. He buried his face in his mother's hip, sobbing. The mother's eyes flashed. She stepped forward and grabbed Lena's upper arm, her nails digging through the cotton of Lena's t-shirt. Don't you ever touch my child, she hissed, her face inches from Lena's. People like you have no right to lay a hand on him. Lena froze. Ma'am, he. The woman jabbed a sharp, lacquered fingernail into Lena's chest. No. You listen. I know what you are, she spat, glancing at Lena's shirt, where the faint rainbow glowed under the fluorescent lights. You people are ruining this country. You think you can just parade around here, confusing the children, and nobody will do anything about it? Her voice rose with each sentence. Conversations around them slowed, then stopped. A few people glanced over, then looked away just as quickly, as if watching a car skid on ice and hoping it wouldn't hit them. Have you ever looked around a crowded room and realized not one person intended to step in? Lena's heart pounded in her throat. Her country's laws were shifting, but the old ones still cast long shadows. She'd heard the stories, of kids called slurs in hallways, of fists, of parents turning their backs, of police misplacing reports. I am married to a police officer, the woman declared, as if reading Lena's mind. If you ever touch my son again, I will have you arrested. I will make sure you remember it every day of your short little life. Lena didn't doubt she meant it, or that she'd try. Her arm burned where those nails still pressed into her skin. She wanted to disappear, to collapse into the sticky floor, to rewind the last 10 minutes and never have walked into this line at all. Just then, a shadow fell across them. Maya stepped forward. Maya was taller than most grown men, with the strong shoulders of a volleyball player and the calm gaze of someone who has spent years reading the room before she speaks. She had seen the mother put her hands on Lena and had left her spot at a nearby table so quickly her chair nearly tipped over. She didn't yell. She didn't curse. She simply moved to stand between Lena and the woman, her back a solid wall. Maya, Lena whispered, her voice cracking. Maya kept her eyes on the mother. Let go of her, she said quietly. Something in her tone made the woman's fingers unclench. Maybe it was the steady confidence, or the way other people in the line suddenly had permission to actually look, to witness, to judge. The boy's crying softened into hiccups. The woman's glare shifted from Lena to Maya, measuring, calculating. You should be ashamed, the mother muttered, but her voice had lost some of its sharpness. Dragging your lifestyle into public. You're lucky I don't call security right now. Maya didn't flinch. We're here to watch a movie, she said. Same as you. If your son doesn't know how to keep his hands to himself, that's your job to fix, not ours. Have you ever watched a young person stand taller than any adult in the room, simply by refusing to bend? The woman huffed, tugging her son closer. Come on, she snapped at him. We're not staying in line behind trash. She spun around, dragging the boy away from the counter, her heels clicking like punctuation marks. A few people shifted aside to let her pass. No one said a word. The cashier slid the chicken tenders toward Lena, her face pale. I'm sorry, she murmured. Are you okay? Lena forced a small nod. Yeah, she lied, hands trembling as she tried not to spill the drinks. Maya took the popcorn and one of the sodas from her shaking hands. They paid, tucked napkins under the greasy cardboard, and walked toward the dim theater hallway. Do we tell the others? Maya asked quietly. Lena shook her head. They're already scared enough, she said. Let them think tonight was just about the movie. They found their friends, whispered something about a delay at the snack bar, and sank into their seats. As the previews rolled, Lena's chest still buzzed with adrenaline. The woman's words echoed in her mind. People like you, no right, ruining this country. And yet, when the main feature finally began, and the shy boy on screen stumbled through his confusion and his first crush, Lena felt something else, a kind of quiet relief, like an exhale she'd been holding in for years. On the screen, he was allowed to exist. To be confused, to be loved, without someone clawing at his arm. Later that year, the highest court in Lena's country struck down the old laws that had branded people like her as criminals. It didn't magically erase the hate in every heart, or the fear in every hallway. But it mattered. New conversations started. News anchors said "gay" without whispering. Parents sat at kitchen tables and actually tried to listen when their children stumbled their way through coming-out speeches. Some churches softened. Others doubled down. The world didn't flip overnight, but you could feel something shifting under your feet. Lena told me the story of the woman at the theater months afterward, while we washed dishes together. She'd kept it to herself for a long time, not wanting to scare her friends any more than they already were. Her voice shook as she spoke, but she didn't cry. I keep thinking about her kid, she said, drying a plate. What is he learning when his mom tells him it's okay to grab strangers and then screams at them for pushing them away? I thought of Daniel then, standing behind that electronics counter, watching another mother teach her son that lying about being famous was better than hearing the word no. 2 different stores. 2 different lines. 2 different mothers. Same lesson, whispered like poison in 2 young ears. The rules do not apply to you. Everyone else is here to serve you. Have you ever wondered what kind of world we're building when we teach children that? I reached over and squeezed Lena's hand, dish soap suds and all. You know what I see? I told her. I see you and Daniel learning a very different lesson. You both stood your ground without becoming cruel. That matters. Courage doesn't always roar, sometimes it simply refuses to move aside. When I share these stories, some people ask, why dwell on the ugly things? Why not only talk about the kindness? Because these are the moments that shape us, especially when we're young. Daniel learned that his dignity does not have a price tag someone else can haggle. Lena learned that her existence is not a favor the world grants her, it is a fact that no stranger can veto. And in both stories, there was an adult who stepped in at just the right time. Mr. Harris walking out from the back room. Maya stepping out from her table. Neither of them perfect, neither of them superheroes, just people who decided, in that moment, not to look away. Have you ever been that person for someone, the one who quietly says, enough, when someone else is being trampled? If you take anything from these old stories of mine, let it be this. Don't teach your children the world owes them applause just for existing. Teach them to say, please, and thank you, to hear, no, without breaking apart, to understand that other people's time and bodies are not toys. And if you have a child whose heart loves differently than you expected, or whose path doesn't look like the brochures you picked up in the doctor's office all those years ago, remember, they are not a problem to be fixed or a shame to be hidden. They are a person to be cherished. Because somewhere out there, a 14-year-old is putting on his first name tag, hoping adults will be kind. Somewhere else, a 16-year-old is standing in a movie theater line, clutching a few crumpled bills and wondering if tonight she'll finally feel like she belongs. We can make their stories easier or harder. That choice is ours. If these memories stirred something in you, if you saw a bit of your own life in Daniel's steady hands or Lena's shaking ones, I'd be grateful if you'd tap that like button and help more folks find this little corner of the internet. It tells the system that stories like these still matter. And if you'd like to hear more old tales of messy families, quiet bravery, and the way the world has shifted under our feet, You're welcome to subscribe to Dust of Old Days, so you don't miss the next evening we sit together like this. Before we part, I'll leave you with a question to tuck under your pillow tonight. When the next hard moment comes, and it will you be the person who demands something you never earned, or the one who quietly steps forward to protect someone more vulnerable than you? The stories of tomorrow are being written in checkout lines and movie theaters right now. Let's do our best to make them worth telling.